Good day, citizens of Ukraine and people abroad. The war is going on not only on the front lines, but also on the information front. The Chief Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine informs you there will be a major wave of fake information. Therefore, we urge you not to trust the information from the sources you cannot check or validate. Trust only those media that you are sure to be verified and that they post true information. Such sources are the web pages of official state services of Ukraine. The Security Service of Ukraine have demonstrated an example of how these fake news might look like. It is alleged that a video made in allegedly secret Security Service of Ukraine and American CIA prisons will be recorded. It will contain prisoners held in there. Militias from Russian-occupied territories will perform the roles of prisoners. These will be former deserters and traitors. This is not the first time the aggressor has used such tactics. Recall that even in peacetime, Russian channels and the channels of the pro-Russian oligarch Medvedchuk leaked information about alleged secret laboratories of the United States that operate in Ukraine and conduct experiments on Ukrainian citizens. This fake has been refuted many times, but the propaganda is to repeat it over and over again. So be careful now. Well, the key fake of the past day was the information that the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, allegedly left the country. Simultaneously, the whole arsenal of propaganda was used to spread this lie. For example, Ilya Kiva is a traitor member of parliament who left Ukraine. It is not surprising that he tells lies. Ilya Kiva has even been convicted in Ukraine before for corruption crimes, and also has a certificate from a psychiatric hospital about his unbalanced mental state. When the source of such fakes becomes the top leadership of the Russian Federation, for example, the Speaker of the State Duma says that Volodymyr Zelensky has fled out of Ukraine, indicates the complete degradation of power structures in that country. This is evidenced by the public statements of such fools from their authorities. Imagine the level of this lie. If the Speaker of the Parliament of Ukraine, Ruslan Stefanchuk, would tell everyone that he knows for sure that Vladimir Putin is sitting in a bunker in a tundra and is being guarded by polar bears to be then evacuated beyond the Arctic Circle. By the way, the idea sounds good, but it's certainly not true. Meanwhile, Mykola Azarov, who is the former Prime Minister of Ukraine under Yanukovych's rule, has come to life in the information space. The Russian side offers him as one of the potential Gauleiter governors of the occupying power, which will never happen, of course. The Azarov goes out and reports informational theses written to him in Russia. In particular, he is outraged that the Ukrainian president does not leave Ukraine, continues to be here and run the country. He also says that, in direct speech, blocks the new leadership of Ukraine from fulfilling their powers. Mr. Azarov, the elections in Ukraine took place in 2019. A new leadership has already been elected. 73% of the population elected Volodymyr Zelensky as the president. This is the legitimate government that controls the processes in the state. The attack of the Russian aggressors on the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant shocked the whole world and gave rise to thoughts of a possible nuclear catastrophe. To justify himself, Russia's representative to the UN Security Council, Nebenzia, made a special statement, which is a complete lie. He says that the Russians did not attack the station, but guarded it. The whole world saw this protection, in inverted commas, when rocket artillery fired at a key energy facility in all of Ukraine and Europe's largest nuclear power plant. If you use such rhetoric, then I have some questions concerning the mental sanity of those representatives. On Saturday, the Russians fired on a railway track carrying an evacuation train and humanitarian mission for the city of Irpin. After the explosion, the train stopped and the evacuation by rail was stopped too. Then the question arises, who was guarded by the aggressors there and why they fired on the train? Thank God the train was without passengers, and the evacuation from the city of Irpin is carried out in another way. Speaking of evacuation, railway workers work in extreme conditions, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. More than 1 million passengers have been evacuated already since the start of aggression. This is real heroism. The people who carry out this mission under the bullets will eventually be known throughout the country and rewarded. Meanwhile, in Kherson, there are attempts by the occupiers to show a television picture that aggressor is said to be happily greeted here. Actors and civilians from Russia were brought there. The invaders tried to distribute humanitarian aid under the camera. But you have seen for yourself, no one takes that help in inverted commas, except for some antisocial elements. Kherson protests en masse against the aggressor. In order to somehow ensure the fulfillment of their goals, the occupiers are trying to broadcast Russian propaganda TV channels in Kherson and Melitopol. Their goal was to seize television and radio transmission systems. This was intended to suppress the fighting spirit of the Ukrainian people in these Ukrainian cities. Information resistance of Ukraine goes on, and it is important to hear some details for all of you. First, if you know about Ukraine receiving weapons from our Western partners, please do not post this information online. Do not report what kinds of weapons these are, where they came from, through which checkpoints at the border. Do not panic and do not believe the fakes that are thrown into the media space. For example, there is information that many citizens of Ukraine are going to be phone-ringed from unknown telephone numbers and thus allegedly launch an airstrike on them. This is simply not true. If someone calls from an unknown number, they cannot launch an airstrike on you this way. Keep calm, trust the Ukrainian armed forces, trust the Ukrainian mass media, and trust the government. Everything will be fine. Glory to Ukraine.